Hi, everyone. Welcome to the third episode of The Idol that we're talking about today. I'm finishing up my makeup. This is also probably going to be a series of sequence, so stay tuned. Also, if you watch the first one, know that there is spoil alerts for the episode of The Idol in here on Max. So let's get into it. If you watch my first couple videos, you know that there is a lack of boundaries with Jocelyn. So this guy, Tetris, now is moving in. He's bringing his posse and he is changing the household. He is waking up. You're starting to see his Jekyll and Hyde side. And now he is firing people in her life. The managers have met him. The managers think he is sketchballs, but they're trying to be nice to his face. They are talking about guns and stuff, and some people might think this is dramatic, but I'm going to say I don't think so. Me, my past dealing with a psychopath, I don't think it's an outreach at all to say that you need to protect yourself around this person because this person is a dangerous person. So he's in her house. How many dates have they been on? Not even 3, basically. And so they're in his house. I'm also getting ready at the same time, guys. And he's just living there. Comes down. The cook is making her food. He's like looking at her body because she's so excited about this one thing that he gave her that helped her gut health. And he's like, oh my gosh, yeah, it looks great. He's touching her body. And to be honest, like it's a little weird for him to be touching, but he could just be like, I get that you guys have a certain relationship. However, I'm just not comfortable with that in front of me. He could have just said that. Instead, he slaps him in the face and he fires him. And then the cook is like, well, you can't fire me because I'm hired by Jocelyn. And so he's like, Jocelyn, you fire him. And then Jocelyn fires him because Jocelyn is wrapped up in this relationship now. And she is easily coerced, to be honest. Like, she just is one of those people that, her mental health hasn't been well. And when you are at a low, what they say is misery loves company. And I've been there, so I understand. And I've been with misery and company, to say in a sense. And I'm using a highlighter right now, a MAC highlighter, and we're just tapping it on the face because I'm gonna contour my nose now. So, getting into the episode more, he's moved in, and then now they want to do a shopping spree. Well, he wants to do a shopping spree. He's like, oh, let's take you out, let's go shopping. And then there's all these paparazzi, and something I want to tell you, like, paparazzi really isn't like too much of a thing now. You have to call people and be like, oh, this person's going to be there. So the assistant was even saying, like, oh, I think he called people because, all of them were here. And she's getting sketched out by it. She's like, he's controlling the household because she steps outside when they go shopping and she starts calling like the managers and the team. So she wants to make them aware of this. This is happening. And so they're like, what? And they also think that she's not the brightest bulb in the tanning bed, the assistant. And so they're just like, okay. And then they're going to go over to Jocelyn's. They're at Jocelyn's house because they thought that she told them to go there. And then they're in the store. It's a high-end store. And he starts to get mad at the guy who's bringing her clothes. He's like, don't look at her. Don't look at her. And this guy wasn't really even looking at her. He was just bringing her clothes, but those narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths, they just like to do that. They just like to tell other people, get jealous and be like, don't look at her, don't look at her. And then they always want a sense of control in you to do something about it. So he goes away because he's like, don't look at my girl. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to go away now because this is weird. And then he literally, Tedris and Jocelyn start to get busy with it in the dressing room. And everybody's hearing in the shop, aka like all of the shop, not there's no shoppers in there because they are being exclusive to Jocelyn, but it's weird for the workers there. And it's really interesting. And it's something that these characters, they like to have intimate relationships in public. They like to get busy in public sometimes. It's like a thrill thing. I don't know. It's just something they do. And not everyone, because you may not be like, I'm down with it. But if they like to test your limits and see what you're down for. And this guy is just so gross. He's slapping her and he's hitting her across the face. And I'm not gonna lie, it's super triggering to me because I've been with someone, that person hit me with a car, and it was super toxic, and I believe that person was a psychopath. So, well, I believe the person I was with was a sociopath, actually, but I believe this person is a psychopath. And then you see him, they get home, the guy talks to them, talks to the manager, talks to her team, and they're being cool in front of Jocelyn. And they're like, okay, they're establishing like, oh, we have to have you put out the song, get 3 songs, an album. Oh, okay, you're bringing this guy in. Tetris is like, oh, I'm bringing in this guy. He's working with this guy, blah, 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 blah. And it's a big name. So they're like, oh, okay, you're bringing him in. Okay, so give us 3 songs by this date, blah, 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 blah. And then how it ends is everyone's in the house. There's also a scene where all his posse is having a conversation without Tedris there, and his assistant's not there either. Jocelyn's assistant, her friend's not there, but it's like his posse and Jocelyn, and they're talking about how you can't say no to Tedris. It's a yes mentality with him, because if you don't say yes, then you're turning down opportunities. And that is a highly toxic mentality to have, because if you have to say yes to everything, you're not consenting to yourself. You're not doing what you really want to do at the end of the day. And that's super important. So just taking that into note, that that's how things are, and that's like this world. And it's super sketch. Like, you shouldn't be living like this, So I'm also just finding another brush. We'll use this one, but it's super toxic. Like, that you have to say yes to everyone. And then she was like, well, like, basically you're seeing my friend. And then she asked the guy, she's like, well, kiss this guy, kiss this person. And then she's like, well, what if my friend was here? Would you have still done that? And then he's kind of like stumbling in a sense, but he's like, well, and then he turns around and kind of manipulates it back onto her. And then how it ends is, first of all, she's wearing this gorgeous, gorgeous piece. It's like lace, it's black lace. It's see-through in a sense. It's just gorgeous. But they're all sitting down at dinner. I have no idea who cooked it now that he fired the chef, but probably like one of his people. And I know it's one of his people because I'm like, they're not making the assistant cook the food, right? Because I don't know if that's in her job title. So Oh, and then Tetris also likes this guy that is on Jocelyn's team, but also, like, manipulates it in a way at dinner because he's like, "Oh, like, what do you want for Jocelyn?" Then he's like, "Oh, I think Jocelyn should use the image that she doesn't like." But when he brings it up to Jocelyn, Jocelyn doesn't really like it. And I knew Tetris would know that because Tetris is like, I know these things. This is a way to manipulate her, and he literally pushes her to talk about her trauma and stuff that has happened with her mother. And then she shares that her mother would beat her with a brush. And then he tells her to get that brush. And then how it ends in this episode is her getting beat with a brush by him. And it shows the aftermath of her crying. And I just feel so bad. And she's just so traumatized. And I would never want that to happen to anyone. So it just makes me sad that he chooses to re-abuse her in the same way that her mother did. And it's a manipulation tactic because she's been abused all her life. And so she's repeating the abuse cycles with this guy instead. And since she's used to it, her nervous system's used to it. And it's a lot easier to manipulate people that have been used to it, unfortunately. So I am almost done with my makeup now. I hope you enjoyed hearing my viewpoint about The Idol. I'm gonna go watch the fourth one now. And I'm ready. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please subscribe, please watch the other videos, and please stay tuned for any coaching workshops I have coming up. I have one coming up July 1st with Call Your Landry, where we move past your trauma. It's 2 hours, it's affordable, and it's on my website, terranewellsurvival.com. So I hope to see you guys all later. Thank you guys for watching.